Good day, students. We are now on the second quarter, and as for the first topic we're going to discuss in our fifth module, we are going to tackle about cost, markup, markdown, and the selling price. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to first define cost, markup, markdown, and margin. Next is that you will be able to differentiate markup from margin. Third one is you will determine the markup rate based on cost and the selling price. For the fourth one, you will be able to convert the markup based on cost to markup based on selling price and vice versa. So the fifth is you will be going to determine the markdown rate. And lastly, you will solve problems involving pricing. In business, it is essential for an entrepreneur or the owner to showcase his or her products or services. In line with that is how much will the customer pay for, and most importantly, how much will be his profit and revenues. So that's the role of pricing. So let us have now the definition of terms. For the first one, we have the cost. So cost refers to the amount spent to produce a product. So for example, let's say you will start a food business. All the ingredients you will buy and the miscellaneous expenses just to cater your product to be available for selling will be considered as cost. It shouldn't be specified only to the raw materials, but rather other expenses such as transportation and handling, labor and energy shall be put into consideration. Otherwise, accurate costing will not be implied. So next one we have the initial markup. It is the amount by which the cost of a product is increased to arrive at the selling price. So in business, ideally you have to aim for a gain, whether it is financially or an expansion. That's why we need markup for us to be able to generate profit. Remember that markup shows a profit as it relates to cost. So sa Tagalog, ito yung pinakatubo mo. Ito yung ipapatong mo sa puhunan ng commodities and products na ibibenta mo. So kaya tayo nagnenegosyo is first, to benefit from the demands of the customer. And second, to cater their needs and demand for the product that you're going to sell. Remember the symbiotic relationship in business na you as a seller will benefit from the needs and demands of your customer, while your customer will benefit from your product kasi kailangan nila yon. And in order for you to cater your product, dapat may pricing ka. So sa pricing, dapat kasama na yung tubo mo. Let us have our first example. Maki, a businessman, marked the product he bought for 100 pesos to sell at 120 pesos. The 120 pesos is the original selling price and 20 pesos is added to the cost, which is the initial markup. So ito yung breakdown niya. So, yung cost niya is 100 pesos. So, nagdagdag siya ng 20 pesos. That will be his initial markup. So, 100 pesos plus 20 pesos is 120. So, yung 120 pesos na yun yung selling price niya or yung original selling price. So, selling price is equal to cost plus markup, wherein yung cost and markup are both portions of the selling price. Let us go now to the additional markup. So, additional markup refers to the amount added to the original selling price to arrive at the new selling price. So, for example, you intend to have a greater profit in your business. And alam mo na posible pa rin na mabenta ang product mo dahil sa demand niya sa customers mo. When you increase your original selling price, additional markup ang tawag doon sa ipapatong mo, whereas you will arrive at the new selling price which is you think na reasonable pa rin para sa product mo. So, continuation with our example a while ago. So, if Maki decides to increase 30 pesos to his selling price from 120, the new selling price is 150. Then, the 30 pesos added to the original price is the additional markup. So, ito yung breakdown niya. So, yung original selling price niya is 120. Nagdagdag kayo ng 30 pesos. That will be now your additional markup. So, 120 plus the 30, that is 150 pesos. So, just remember that kapag mag-a-add tayo ng additional markup, magpapatong lang tayo ng price dun sa mismong original selling price natin. And then you will arrive into the new selling price. Thus, we can say that the new selling price is always greater than the original selling price right after we added the additional markup. So let us go now to the markup cancellation. So markup cancellation refers to the decrease in the new selling price that does not decrease below the original selling price. So sa continuation ng ating example, we have your new selling price as 150 pesos. So less 10 pesos will have your reduced selling price as 140 pesos. So yung 10 pisong binawas natin mula sa ating new selling price is what we call now the markup cancellation. So after you have removed the markup cancellation from the new selling price, that is now your reduced selling price. So remember that the reduced selling price should not be less than the original price. Therefore, we can say that it's always greater than or equal to the original selling price. So furthermore, kung magbabawas ulit tayo ng 20 pesos from the reduced selling price, you will arrive at the original selling price, which is 120 pesos. Kasi that is 140, which is your reduced selling price, minus 20 pesos, which is your another markup cancellation, you will arrive at 120. So we can now conclude that the maximum amount for a markup cancellation is the difference in between your new selling price and the original price. So we cannot go beyond lower than the original price based on the premise that we have a while ago about markup cancellation. Lastly, we have the markdown. So it refers to the reduction in the original selling price. So for your original selling price, which is 120, you will have to less of 5 pesos from that one. So 120 minus 5 gives you 115. So 5 pesos there is what we call your markdown. So the new reduced selling price will be 115 pesos. So another one, you will have another markdown which is 5 pesos. So you will have arrived at the new reduced selling price as 110. Remember that the new reduced selling price after you have your markdown must not be beyond lower than the cost, because cost is your break-even point. So pag sinabi nating break-even point, you don't have any profit at all, nor having any loss. So sa Tagalog, balik puhunan siya. Remember that markdown reduce the prices not beyond lower than the costing. Otherwise, it will be considered as loss. So there you have it. I hope you have learned something about markup and markdown. For the next video, I will discuss about the difference between markup and margin. So thank you students for listening, and see you on the next video. Bye!
Happy learning at home with lessons made easy by Olivarian GoTeach. One proud Olivarian.